We are at Cumberland Falls with if it's not a historic, it's a near historic flood stage. And there's a lot of people here. Thought we'd come up here and see how full it is. All right, looks like the water is up real high to Gatliff Bridge. What a cool scene. Pretty neat day to be out here. All right, here's one of the hazards of coming here on a crowded day is people don't park where they're supposed to. And I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get out of my parking place, which is a real parking place. Oh, this is tight. Good grief. May be able to just barely squeeze out. Good grief. Close, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Are you gonna hit that truck?
No, I think I'm missing by about 9 inches. Whew. I about didn't make that one.
You did it. Good maneuver.
Wow, that was close. All right. Hey, welcome back to the build of the Camp Easy 5945. If this is your first time tuning in, it's good to have you aboard. And if you're a repeat watcher, thanks for coming back. Today we're going to be putting these fiberglass fenders on the Camp Easy. Now these fiberglass fenders are actually reproduction fenders that are used on 32 Ford pickup trucks, or that's what the sticker on the fender said when I got it anyway. I think they might actually fit even a 33 or 34, but these go on the rear, and these particular reproduction fenders are a couple inches wider for those guys and gals who want to put fat hot rod tires on the back of their old pickups. So that's going to work well for my purpose. I need the extra width to properly overhang my tires. Yeah, these are going to be great. You'll notice I've got a little green tape on the front here. They're about 9 inches taller in the front than I want, and I'm just going to chop some of the excess length off. But other than that, I think they're going to work out well. I do have to make a decision what color I'm going to paint them, and I've been going back and forth for weeks on do I want to make them black or do I want to paint them green, and I'm still in the air about it. So the only thing I know is just to trim them down, stick them on, and see what speaks to me. So hey, let's get started. As I mentioned a while ago, the fenders are about 9 inches taller in the front than what I really want to go for. So I just measured 9 inches from the table here up, and I just put some masking tape to denote that line. And I freehand cut just a little bit of a radius on there, just so it won't be chopped off looking on the outside. And I'll be cutting this with a fine tooth blade on my jigsaw, and I did a trial cut on this already, and it has a smooth setting, which I'm assuming just turns the speed up, and it actually was a pretty smooth cut. So yeah, I think that's going to work out well for trimming these down.
I've put some blocks on top of the wheel to make a space. Let's do a trial fit. Oh yeah, these are going to be sweet.
That was crazy. I burned through two jigsaw bits. These are brand new bits. I can't believe that. Whatever's in that fiberglass really chews through a bit. I was able to trim down the 9 inches on the front of each one of the fenders. There's a little trimming I need to do on the side we'll talk about in a moment, but if it's going to go through bits that quick, I'm not going to be able to afford doing it that way. I'll have to maybe use an angle grinder with a cutoff disc. I didn't want to do that just because of the mess it'll make, but I may have to. Let's see. All right, so let's talk about a modified plan here. Grab something to drink right fast. That second fender, I don't know what was different between it and the first one, but it chewed up 2 brand new jigsaw blades. And those were only, I don't know, probably 12, 13 inch long cuts. I have a couple cuts to make that are probably going to be 30, 40 inches long on each fender. And I don't want to have to buy, you know, a couple dozen jigsaw blades. So I had an old pack of metal cutting jigsaw blades laying around. I'm going to try those, and if they don't do it, I'll probably just have to move the operation outside where I can make a mess and use my angle grinder. So I don't know, let's see what's going to happen. So let's talk about the next cut. The fenders, like I say, are a couple inches wider than a stock 32 Ford fender, which is good, but I don't need the full 2 inches of extra width. I probably need like an inch of it, and so I need to cut an inch of it off. And to add to that, a 32 Ford fender, and I'm not familiar with the particular truck, but they have some kind of a cutout, I suppose, that the fender has to go around. So there's a notch cut out in these already. So what I want to do is just go ahead and trim the whole fender front to back to a uniform width. And I'm going to do that by using this jig. Basically, I just took a piece of wood and taped a pencil to it that's about 1 inch wider than what the outside of the tire sticks out from the edge of the camper. And I'll use that to scribe a line onto the fender to make the fender the same width. So the side of the fender, again, that I'm going to cut is the inside of the fender. It's the side that has this little notch cut out in it to fit on, you know, whatever it is on the side of a 32 Ford bed. So I'm going to trim the inside of the fender and make the fender uniform thickness front to back. And to be sure that it's uniform, I'm going to take that block with the pencil on it. I'm just going to set it on the table with the fender flush on the table, and I'm just going to use it to trace a line that's the same distance from the table or the opposite side of the fender all the way around. Okay, so I'm gonna have to eat a little bit of crow. If y'all have some salt and pepper to put on it to maybe make it taste a little bit better. I went in the house and I was telling the wife, I said, hey, I made a couple cuts on my fenders and it worked out great, nice smooth cut. But gee whiz, I burned up 2 brand new blades doing it. And she looked at me like I was a dummy. She said, well, why don't you just use a blade made for fiberglass? And I didn't say anything to her. In the back of my mind, I was kind of rolling my eyes thinking, there's not such a thing as a blade for fiberglass. I'm just going to have to, you know, take some kind of blade that's, you know, made for another purpose and make it work. But anyway, I went to Lowe's to buy some other hardware. And while I was there, I just happened to go by the jigsaw blade section. And son of a gun, they sell a blade that's made just for glass tile or ceramic tile, glass, and fiberglass. It's made by Bosch. So with that, I guess I'm going to have to eat a little crow. It doesn't have teeth on it. Rather, it's a wide blade, and it looks like it has some kind of grit impregnated along one edge of it. It says it's a 30 grit blade. I don't know if it's carbide or what it is, but anyway, it said it's made just for ceramics and fiberglass. So if you're watching this video, honey, sorry. Okay, I got the fenders cut down with the fiberglass jigsaw blade, and it did fantastic. So honey, I owe you one. Thanks for that suggestion. Worked like a charm. I wanted to show you here just a little something I did when I cut the fenders down. Now again, I was cutting them for the width, but I didn't cut them for the width from front to back. I cut them from front almost to back, and let me show you what I mean. So here's what I mean. I trimmed about 1 inch off the inside of the fender all the way down to this point, and then I left it wider on down into the back. The reason I did that is I need the fender to be this width to hang out the right amount over the tire and to look good. But when you're driving down the road behind the camper or standing behind their camper looking at it, I didn't want this just to come straight back and just to chop off and be a hard angle here. I wanted it to the left side, this little tail here to match the right side of the tail. So I just left a little bit wider in the back. So basically it's going to drop down below the wall of the camper full width. So it'll be narrow up against the wall of the camper, and it'll drop down until the bottom of the wall of the camper, and it'll be full width from there on. I've been using some spacer blocks, just setting the fender on top of it to get some clearance between the top of the fender and the top of the tire. And those blocks together are just a little thicker than the distance from the top of the axle to the bottom of the frame. So worst case scenario, the leaf springs bottom out and the axle hits the frame, I should still have at least 1/4 inch clearance there. So my next step now is to mount some brackets on the inside of the fenders that will bolt them to the outer wall of the camper. I'm probably going to put a mounting location here. There's a pretty thick spot of plywood there. I'll come around the front. I'll put a mount that'll bolt into the wall here, and then I'll probably put just a couple small mounts towards the top just to stabilize it. Now that I have a nice clean edge to work with where I trimmed the width, I'll be using these 5 inch by 1 inch heavy duty just angle brackets. I'm not sure exactly what you normally use these for, but I picked these up at the hardware store. And I'll put one towards the back, and I'll put one towards the front, and I'll probably cut one leg down a little shorter. It doesn't need to stick out that far. My plan is to scuff the fiberglass up and to put these in with JB weld, and then maybe fiberglass over top of them. It just depends on how well the JB weld holds. But I may fiberglass over them. I want a good secure bond between the bracket and the fiberglass. And then I have a couple smaller brackets I'll put towards the middle, again, just to stabilize it on the side of the wall. So yeah, that's I believe that's going to be heavy duty enough. I'm going to scuff this fiberglass up with some super rough 40 grit sandpaper. So I'm going to use this small bench grinder just to scuff up one edge of this bracket. That way it'll get a good bond to the JB weld. I always like using this little bench grinder. This is one my grandfather gave me years ago. He's gone now, but I always think about him whenever I'm using it. Good times, good memories.